Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing? It's Colin Daniel here from riffninja.com. Today I'm in the mood to answer some more questions from my students. This one's from David, and his question is, most used arpeggio in blues or rock licks? Arpeggios, arpeggio. Well, the first thing we got to get sorted out, I'm not too sure how to answer this question, so I'm going to answer it like two questions, because an arpeggio is just notes out of the chord. Any chord can be an arpeggio. You can draw an arpeggio out of any chord. Most of the time, arpeggios are drawn from the higher strings, and you play a root note over top of that, like out of a chord where you'll go like bass note, and then one of the most common finger-picking arpeggios is like a bass note, like the root note, and then your third, second, and first string, right? And that would be a very common arpeggio. And now you alternate the bass note. You could do it with your pick. You know, the bass note, then 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, or just bass note 3, 2, 1. Those are two really common. And then alternate the bass note. I mean, that's an arpeggio pattern that's used on every chord. Any chord you got. That's a common arpeggio, but I think you're kind of asking me also how to apply that into a lick, like a riff, which is less of an arpeggio and more of a single note picking. Like in metal, the guys use rake picking. That's a whole other subject in one way, where they string groups of triads, groups of different chords together, and they have a technique with their pick where a lot of times they'll rake with their pick, they'll go across like 3, 4 strings, and they'll move their their notes. And actually in jazz they use that a lot too. There's a bit of that in blues, and but I think what you're looking for more than anything is these smaller groups of chords rather than like playing bass notes in a finger pattern. I think you're looking for things like what I played at the beginning, which was the part of the Eric Clapton's version of All Your Love with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers off the Beano album. You know, in there he does this triad solo. A triad is a 3-note chord. How did I get that? Well, I think this is a very usable chord, especially in blues, because blues kind of leans towards the minor more, right? And I'm sure you've seen this chord before, like the B minor chord that's barred, or the B minor like this. Well, that's the triad B minor. Root 3, third string, third finger root. You know, one fret or one string, one fret over each time. You know, so for a B minor, it's fourth fret, third string, third fret, second string, and second fret, first string. That's a B minor, right? Now if I move it up, there's D minor, there's B minor, C minor, D minor, E minor, F minor, G minor, A minor. And that's where Clapton, because All Your Love is in the key of A minor, so you use the A minor triad. Out of interest, because that usually blows my students away when I tell them this, it's like the most common arpeggio is to pick the 1, 3, and 5, and that's what this is, 1, 3, and 5, right? Well, you know, in Eddie Van Halen's most famous finger tapping is the beginning to Eruption, and the first 3 notes are A, C, and E, but it's in reverse, E, C, A. That's E, C, and A. That's the arpeggio notes out of the Clapton. Eddie Van Halen says one of his biggest influences was Eric Clapton. You think maybe that Beano album had an effect on him when he listened to it? More than likely. But here's the notes, right? 12th fret, 13th fret, and 14th fret. And Clapton slides up to it. And that's his arpeggio. If you watch the beginning of the of this lesson, you'll see how I played the whole thing pretty much. And it starts with the root note, so it goes 3rd string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st string. So 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 1st, 3rd, 2nd, back to the root. So you got to watch till you get the root the last time. We'll take it in 2 groups. So 3rd, 2nd, 3rd. You got to get your fingers down on the chord, right? And then you pick the notes, the strings. 3rd string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st string. That's the first group. So your first group is 3rd string, 2nd, 3rd string, 1st string. Then it starts again with the root, 3rd string. The second phrase is 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 1st, 3rd. So you got 2 groups. That's your first group. Your second group is and then there's your arpeggio. Then he moves to the D, which is a 4 change. Back to the A, right? To the E, chromatic, passing note to the D, single note to close, right? There are other ways to use this chord in, this is not in blues, this particular song, but it's an example that comes to my mind, and that is the song Sunday Bloody Sunday, right? Which is cool because this is a B minor triad, but when I play it, I play the D major chord because B minor and D major are relative. But I start with the B minor. I cancel out my first finger here on the 3rd string by putting my pinky down. That makes it a B minor triad, right? It's just like playing it like this. But rather than going and having to change from the D to B, this is a much smoother change. So the pinky second and, or the pinky 3rd and 2nd fingers play the B minor triad with this first finger getting ready for the next change, right? So there's your B minor. Then I take the pinky off, plays a D major. Then I take the 2nd and 1st fingers off, and it plays a form of G major, just on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. So there's another example of using the triad that I was showing you earlier. Another example is in Dire Straits. There's a bit of rake picking there from Mark Knopfler. That's the D minor triad. Isn't that sweet? Right out of your D minor scale. Your chords will be found right in the scale if you know the notes to your chords. All right, David. I hope some of this has helped, and I hope that anybody else that's watching this lesson, that they've learned something from it. If you really want to get serious, you got to come and check out my site. I'm really here to help everybody play better. It's riffninja.com if you want to check it out. And don't forget to subscribe too. Thanks for your time, and hope this has helped. See you later.